Monday, everybody. It's time for another edition of Ask Mike. Courtney Mims alongside Mike Irwin here. Mike, I do have to say one more time to everybody out there because we need some more downloads of our new CTV app. You can download it on your Roku device, your Amazon device, and guess what? You can watch Ask Mike every Monday live at 7:30.
It's on a lot quicker that way.
It is on a lot quicker because we do it on that app Monday nights at 7:30. So you can watch it there before you watch it anywhere else. So go download it. 479 first. That's 479 first on any of your Roku, Amazon, any sort of streaming device that you have. You can find it there. So give us a download, give us a watch over there, and let us know if you like the app. Okay. Let's jump into it. We've got so many questions this week. We're going to fly through them. Our first question is from Cajun Hog, who wants to know, Mike, do you think we'll go back to Omaha in 2026? If so, why? We're losing a lot of really good players off maybe the most talented team that DVH has ever had.
I would never predict going back to Omaha because there's so many things that can go wrong, and we saw the last 2 years before this one, good teams don't make it. So I can't guarantee you that. I'm not going to predict that. But I'll do a little bit of, and very quickly go over this, because while they lost a lot, they didn't lose any more than they lost last year. And Dave Van Horn rebuilt this thing pretty quickly. So let's talk about who may come back, because a lot of this depends on the draft.
Yeah.
It's coming up. So, for instance, they could lose their whole outfielder, but they might not. What if Justin Thomas Jr. decides to come back? That's your center fielder. Davilan probably will go, but maybe not. That's your left fielder. Infield, Vahiva Aloy is the only one we're almost 100% certain he's gone.
Yeah, because it looks like they found his replacement already.
Yeah, they found his replacement, and he's the Golden Spikes winner. But we've got Reese Robinette. He could go, but he's probably coming back at first. You've got Cam Kozel back at second.
Yeah, Cam Kozel's back, yeah.
And then we've got Nolan Sousa, and he was the second baseman before he got hurt, so I don't know what they'll do there, but they're back. Kahio Aloy is your DH, and he's back. And then when you talk about pitchers, I forgot to mention Ryder
Helfrich's back. Come on, you're Golden Spikes.
I predicted last week he may be the Golden Spikes winner. He's certainly going to be one of the better players in college baseball next year. He's back. And then pitching, I'm just going to do this pretty briefly. Gabe Gackle, Cole Gibler, and Carson Wiggins, all three of those at one time or another pitched on the weekend, started.
Yeah.
Okay, so that could be your starting rotation next fall. Next spring. And then let's talk about transfers, because Ball State transfer shortstop Dylan Grego, you talked about that.
Yeah, I did. That's Vahiva Aloy's replacement.
He basically bats both ways and bats around 400 each way. That's pretty good. And he's also an outstanding, I think he had the same fielding percentage as Aloy last year. So he's a good defensive shortstop. And then you've got pitchers. We've got Ethan McElvin transferring in from Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. And then the big news this past week, OU pitcher Jackson Kersher transferring in after a good freshman year at OU.
Yeah.
He's originally out of Little Rock Christian Academy, so he's an Arkansas kid coming back. Got a fastball that reaches 97 miles an hour. So I think they think of him as probably a bullpen guy next year. But he's pretty excited. He's posted about coming back and playing for Arkansas. The bottom line is, when all this is over, I think Van Horn, through the transfer portal and with guys coming in, freshmen coming in, he's going to rebuild.
He's already shown that. I mean, he's
I
already shown that.
I think they'll have as much talent as they had last year.
Yeah, and you're right. You're exactly right, though. It's hard to answer Cajun Hog's question, because you were saying good teams, sometimes don't make it. We've seen that with Arkansas. We saw that this past year with Vanderbilt not making it, Texas not making it.
Exactly.
I mean, there are a lot of people.
There are a lot of factors.
Yeah, there were a lot of people shocked to see the field and what it ended up being. So there are a lot of factors, but you like what you see. I mean, goodness gracious, I'm liking what Ryder Helfrich is doing with that Team USA baseball.
Yeah.
He hit a home run the other day.
He hit a home run, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll see what happens. Skeptic on the Hill says, though, how come Van Horn can have all these Golden Spikes winners but can't win the College World Series? If you can have the best player, you should have the best team.
Well, it's kind of a strange statement, because I think most people realize just having one great player is not going to cause you to win a national championship.
As
and
shown by Arkansas softball.
I'm not saying
as well.
that's what's going on at Arkansas, but I will say that if you go back and look at the last 10 Golden Spikes winners, only one of them played on a national championship team. That was 2023. Dylan Cruz of LSU was the Golden Spikes winner. He was on LSU's national championship team. However, LSU is, while they're number 2 all-time in World Series wins with 8, they only have 2 Golden Spikes winners in all these years. Arkansas has 3 and has never won it. So I don't think one has anything to do with the other.
I mean, you also say it's not the end-all be-all, because Arkansas softball as well had the best player in college softball on their team, and they still have yet to make it to the Women's College World Series. So we'll see if Arkansas. I like your optimism, Mike. They're eventually going to do it.
I think they will.
Look at the Cubs, right? They're eventually going to do it. Eddie Lynn says, you said last week the revenue sharing will help Arkansas baseball, but it hurt LSU. I got the impression that Courtney disagrees. Could y'all explain that in more detail?
Okay, my position is, and I'm taking the position, we've gone back and forth on this. I read the House versus NCAA settlement and the ruling by the federal judge, and she's basically saying NIL almost goes away. There'll still be some of it, but it won't be what it has been. And LSU is one of the few schools that puts a lot of NIL money into baseball. So if NIL is indeed reduced, and then what the answer to baseball is going to be is you're going from 11.7 scholarships to 34.
Yeah.
So you're adding 22, 23 scholarships or whatever. I think that's how teams will move forward in baseball. So it goes back to traditional recruiting. What do you think about the coach? What do you think about his ability to develop? What do you think about the facilities? What do you think about the fans? I think there have been some guys that have come in here in the past, looked at Arkansas and went, wow, I'm going there. And then they went somewhere else like LSU and they went, here's a bunch of money. And they stayed with LSU. I think that's going away.
I think, and the only reason why I disagree with that is because in the language of the House settlement, she does recognize that this probably means that cheating will come back and things like that will come back.
So you're saying LSU will cheat?
I'm saying that I think a lot of programs will cheat. I don't think it's just LSU. I think there's a lot of people who are going to try and get around the cap and try and get around and find ways to make it work for them. Well, I also believe that she also says that in the settlement, this does not mean that what we have passed is going to be compliant with antitrust law. Right. And so there's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be lawsuits.
That's they will why lose. They will lose.
You think so, but she acknowledges there that it has nothing that she said in this is completely
I like it when people
compliant.
That file lawsuits lose.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens.
I've had opportunities, believe me, in the past to sue people. I never have.
Okay.
I just never wanted to do that. To me, I don't like lawsuits.
Yeah.
Never have.
There's a lot of people that don't like lawsuits. There's a lot of people that don't even want to sue because they have that idea of like, well, I'm going to be labeled as someone who sues people or sues, organizations. We will see what happens. Do I think revenue sharing is a step in the right direction? Eddie Lynn, absolutely. It's a step in the right direction. Just go listen. I bet we have a question about Remy Cofield in here somewhere, yes, I bet, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But just go ask Remy Cofield when he was talking about how this can help and how this can be utilized correctly. But he's also there to figure out how to make that cap work for Arkansas. So going to be very interesting to see what happens. Jay Hogg asks, what are your expectations for this year's football team? With the big roster turnaround every season because of the transfer portal, you never know what to expect, Mike.
I don't like to make predictions. I've said that before, too many things that can happen, good or bad. I can only tell you what I like about this team, and I like what Bobby Petrino had to say, and I've mentioned this before. He said, regardless of all these uncertainties at wide receiver and running back, they've got a bunch of new running backs, the offensive line changes. When you got a quarterback that's working in his second year under Petrino and understands Petrino's system because it's pretty complicated when it comes to quarterbacks, he said, I think we're going to be good because he knows what he's doing. And we were pretty good last year and he didn't know what he was doing. And we still went to a bowl game and won a bowl game. Look, I like the offensive line. It's different, it's new, but I think if you go look at each one of these guys and where they came from and what they were what they did when they got here, before they got here. I think they'll protect better. I think they'll run block better. I think that's going to help the running backs. Sure, there's a question on the D-line, certainly at depth, but I think at linebacker, Arkansas is going to be solid. I think their plan on defense is to attack quarterbacks, and I think they've got the linebackers that can do that, can harass quarterbacks. I don't know about the secondary, but it couldn't be any worse than the one they had last year, because they got burned a lot last year. Again, I think they'll win. I can't say for sure, but I have a lot more faith in them than the average Razorback fan.
Okay, well, that's good. I think that's positive. We talked about it last week. I'm going to say it again. Something you didn't mention here that was key last year, special teams.
Yeah.
Special teams. I have a question mark there. I have a question mark with the kickers.
But they brought in a good.
They did bring in one of the best punt returner. Well, the best punt returner in the nation, right? I mean, that he is the best, the top punt returner in the nation. So there is some questions answered. We just didn't get to see the kickers.
We didn't see them because they went off somewhere else.
Yeah, they went off to the stadium or whatever when we were at the practice field. So I have a question mark there. And I just feel like, and this is my opinion, I just still have some question marks that hopefully will be answered maybe in fall camp, that we'll get to see a little more of these guys. I think it hurt a little bit.
They didn't have a spring game.
They didn't have a spring game. That's exactly what I was going to say. They didn't have a spring game, and so I'm cautiously optimistic. There you go. Cautiously optimistic, because I just don't feel like I have a lot of...
Do we have to take a break yet?
We do have to take a break. You're exactly right. Mike, we are going to take a break, and when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about all the revenue sharing and all of those questions that you guys have about that. That's coming up right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to another edition of Ask Mike. Courtney Mims alongside Mike Irwin here. Mike, there's more questions about the whole revenue sharing deal because it led to some big news last week, and that was from On Par Hog, who asks, this weekend I heard a rumor that they're laying off staffers at the Broyles Center to meet the salary cap for revenue sharing. Are things that bad right now, Mike?
First of all, I don't think Hunter Yurachek ever admitted this. I think it came out, there was some, was it the Arkansas Democrat Gazette? They went and looked and saw there were some staffers that are being cut.
Correct. They did the reporting on that, yes.
Here's what I've been told, and I'm 100% sure of what I've been told, because there's just too many people that know what's going on there if they're all saying the same thing. Number one, yes, and I don't think Arkansas is the only school like this. When you suddenly have to come up with $20 million to $23 to $24 million, because they're also having to fund more scholarships this year as a part of this plan. In other sports, baseball gets more scholarships. I mentioned that. So when you have to come up with an extra $20 to $23, $24 million that you didn't have to the year before, where that money going to come from? Yeah. And Hunter Yurachek had said that he wasn't sure they had all of it right now. So what comes out late last week is that he wants to cut 10% out of the budget by laying off staffers, administrative staffers, that don't have direct contact with players. In other words, they wouldn't lay off an assistant trainer or an assistant strength coach guy.
Strength coach, yeah,
somebody
or something, yeah.
Or the people that deal with them over there in the academic side in that Jerry Jones Center that also cooks food for them, and dietitians over there that make a special diet. The guy wants to gain weight or lose weight. If you work with an athlete, they're going to leave you in place. Well, what came out of this was that, and I've confirmed this, that Kevin Trainer, who's been with Arkansas football program for 30 years and also worked for the SEC. He went to school here. His brother played football here. There's probably nobody in that athletic department, I don't mean anybody, that's more well-known and well-respected in Razorback circles, that is with the fans, boosters, people over on the academic side. Nobody more than him. And he's being let go. Yeah. Now, I've been told that it wasn't a result of any sort of conflict, that Hunter Yurachek didn't have any issues with him. He didn't have any issues with Yurachek, so it wasn't that. It was simply a cold, hard business decision. And not unlike what happened in 2000 when they had COVID. If you remember, there were a bunch of key university employees that had been around for many years that they cut because they had budget problems. Well, that's fine. Understood why they did it, but right after that, when COVID was over, Hunter Yurachek came back and started hiring a bunch of new people. And so what I'm told is, what it looked like to a lot of people that follow this, is that Yurachek just wanted his own people in there. Jeff Long did some of this. And everybody has a right to do that when you're the AD. You don't have to come in and keep everybody that the other athletic director had, in like Frank Broyles' case. But you got to make sure that the people that you usher out the door you replace them with a person of the same quality. He won't get anybody that can do for the athletic department what Kevin Trainor did. Kevin Trainor is going to have to retire sooner or later anyway. It should be later than sooner. Yeah. I can't tell you how well respected he is. I can't tell you how many times I've called him about somebody who comes up to me and goes, because I hear a lot of rumors about Hunter Yurachek. People are complaining about him all the time. That's what happens when you're the AD. People did that with Frank. So I hear this, and this. I want to know, did that really happen? Is that really going on? Go to Kevin, who's their PR guy over there, and Kevin tells me no, and he's very measured when he talks to you. He makes a lot of sense. And he takes it point by point, and he goes, no, that's not what happened. Here, and here. And then when he's through, you're going, okay, I understand that. He doesn't have that anymore. He's not going to have somebody that has his back like that. And Kevin's not making stuff up. He's talking in real terms, but he's talking in terms that make sense. So, made a mistake. I don't know what's going to happen. Suppose he's been offered a job at the foundation. If he was going to offer Kevin a job in the foundation, and supposedly a lower level job, he should have offered him the head of the foundation. If you want to raise money, I've talked to too many people that say one of the problems the foundation has right now, the foundation is the place where you raise money for the athletic department. Yeah. Okay, you going to give them money when you don't even know hardly the people over there anymore? No. For years and years and years under Frank always had somebody like Chuck Dicus, the former Razorback, a famous player on the '69 team. He's over there. People know him. They trust him. Now you've got somebody over there, they don't even know who he is because he's from out of state. And it's like, I can't tell you that guy's name. I've run into so many. Put Kevin Trainor over there in that, and then you're solving a lot of problems if you have him over there. Absolutely. But that's not apparently what he decided to do. Apparently he's also got an option to go over on the academic side. I talked to somebody that used to do PR on the academic side. That's what he told me. He said, I know PR work. I know professionalism. There's nobody better at that than Kevin Trainor. And they might want him over there on their side to handle issues that come up PR-wise with the academic side. So that was a mistake. I understand having to cut budget. I understand having to cut staffers. And I understand why they're having to do this, because the revenue sharing is not going to do you any good if you can't meet the cap. Yeah,
you're going to be a leg down.
You're going to be a leg down to all these other schools that meet the cap. So I understand why that happened. This was one guy they didn't need to cut. Yeah. They could have found some other way to make this happen.
I agree completely. I think that was a true loss, honestly, because like you said, I mean, he was the guy that we would honestly get to explain things and be able to give people honest answers here about what's going on in the athletic department. And now, if you don't have that
I don't
PR
think Hunter
person,
Yurachek understands how many fires he put out, Kevin Trainor put out.
I believe so. I mean, a lot. And so who are you going to get to replace a guy like that?
I call over there and talk to some guy I don't know, and he tells me, no, Hunter's a good guy, and he's not wrong about this. And I go, why? And I don't believe the guy because I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
You don't know him. You want to trust your people, just like the same way people want to see people that they know do this show, right? And trust the people. You've been covering the Razorbacks for how long? They trust you, right? You also want a guy who's in that department. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you want to trust the people because you know someone that's knowledgeable about what they're doing. And I'll say this too.
He's also on the College Sports Communications Board of Directors. That's the college sports, basically sports information people, PR people. He's the president of the Board of Directors. Yeah. That's a national organization. Some people speculate, where would he go if he doesn't stay here? I think he might end up back at the SEC. SEC office loves this guy.
Why not?
He's the guy that always does the SEC media days. I don't know if he is this year, but he's the guy up there. You ought to see what a press conference is like at SEC media days with 800 reporters up there asking questions.
But he's the best at it.
Oh, he's tremendous.
The best at it. If he is not doing it this year, I'm going to be upset.
Talk about trying to wrestle an 800-pound gorilla when you're dealing with all those people.
He is the best at it for sure. If he's not there, I'm going to riot, Mike. If he's not doing
You'll
it.
find out. You'll be there.
I will. Okay. This username is interesting.
I think it's B. Phillips.
B. Phillips. Okay,
he's a
but with
Hogville guy.
211s. Okay, B. Phillips, Hogville guy, says, based on ESPN's FPI, Arkansas would be predicted second in the Big 12, fourth in the ACC, and sixth in the Big 10. They would be 12th in the SEC. Arkansas fans should keep this in mind when judging Pittman and Hunter Yurachek. This is what they have to deal with every year. Arkansas is a solid football program in a great league.
Yeah, he makes a great point, and I think it'll go right over the heads of some fans. But what he's basically saying is what he said. They're a really good program, but they're in an incredible league where everybody is solid. Everybody has these numbers, and I've always said, you want to start winning again in football, go back to the old Southwest Conference, which is now the Big 12, because I think Arkansas would dominate that league, but nobody wants to do that. But the point is that is a lot of when you get complaints about Arkansas. It's the same thing with recruiting right now. Arkansas's recruiting is pretty good right now. I think it's for the 2026 class, it's top 15 or something like that.
I think so. I haven't checked the recent numbers, but I'd have to look.
Supposedly I think it was third in the SEC. Now that number may go down, but
I think you're right. I think it is third, but it could fluctuate. I mean, those numbers fluctuate.
Some of that has to do with how many people you've got commitments from, and some schools wait till the very end because they're in on guys that they're willing to wait for till the end.
Absolutely, and I think it's a great point of this of just, hey, this is just perspective for you. But at the same time, there are people all the time go, well, we should just move conferences. We should just move conferences, and I go, but what conference makes the most money? You want to be in the SEC.
It's just that everybody gets that money. You got it, but everybody else has it, and then they have more money that they get from their boosters, and
it's just. But it makes the most money, and you want to be in the SEC. A lot of these teams would love to be in the SEC. I'm sure. That's why you always get those rumors coming out every year of Florida State wants to join, and who else was it? Clemson or somebody wanted to join. I mean, you always get those things coming out. Hog Wild says, $10,279,300. That's what Missouri spent this month on NIL, distributing an influx of cash to athletes before the landmark House versus NCAA settlement takes effect July 1st and imposes a de facto salary cap. That's what Hog Wild says right there. That's his question, I guess.
Yes, and this is happening at a lot of schools, and this is why I believe, and we have these arguments about NIL going down. This is part of the reason why I believe, because these are coaches going, oh crap, we're not going to be able to spend all this NIL money.
Yes.
We've got until July 1st. Let's get as many good players as we can. And Missouri's a good example of that. Now, if you go on Hogville right now, there's a thread on this, and there's join the Hogville forum. If you want to discuss things seriously as opposed to just yelling at people on Twitter or Facebook, there's some smart people over there, and they're discussing this. One of the things they talk about, and I don't know if it's true or not, but they're saying Missouri went into debt on this. In other words,
I believe so, yeah.
And they're saying other schools have done this. In order to spend this lot of money at the last minute to get as much, you're willing to spend money you don't have, borrow it.
They were basically making, and this wasn't just Missouri, this was all over the country, of programs last minute, knowing this was going to pass. Okay, free for all, let's sign as many deals as we can, because before July 1st, those deals are going to be honored. So that's what they were doing. They were just like, sign these deals, sign these deals, sign these deals. And now they're having to deal with that, right? And now they're having to go back.
So if you get yourself into a debt, how does that affect your ability to do revenue sharing?
It's a great question. That's beyond my pay grade, Mike Irwin. I do not know, but I know that so many programs tried to get these deals signed as quick as they could before revenue sharing passed, because that's why you saw this college basketball transfer portal cycle, so many of these guys having such high numbers. And you're going, wait, I don't know if Boogie Flan's worth that much. I don't know if this guy's worth that much, but they're willing to sign at these high deals because they know it's their last chance to get some of those high money deals before revenue sharing passed, and there was that cap. So we'll see what happens moving forward. We're going to have a lot more to talk about with revenue sharing. I think there was some other random questions thrown in this week. So we're going to go over all of those when we get back. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back in a few. Welcome back to another edition of Ask Mike. Courtney Mims alongside Mike Irwin here. Mike, we got some more football questions to get to. Hog Redneck says Pittman seems to be losing the top in-state players but getting good players from other states. Does it really matter if you lose an Arkansas four-star kid and get a four-star kid from Georgia?
It only matters when you're complaining, when you're mad before they actually start playing.
Nice.
Look, I could sit here all day long, and I'm not going to do it, and talk about players from out of state who came to Arkansas and became beloved in this state. Lloyd Phillips, going all the way back to national champions. I mean, this guy was out of Texas. He comes up here. He never left. He ended up being a longtime administrator over in Springdale School Systems. I mean, there's just guys. I remember Alex Collins. Now, Alex Collins comes here under Bielema, and he comes in from Florida, and remember his mom had that press conference where she didn't want him to go, and he had to basically
that was crazy.
He just basically had to tell her to buzz off. I'm going there. There's nothing you can do about it. He gets on campus, and the first thing I start hearing about Alex Collins is he's just walking around helping people.
Yeah.
He's like, there's parents and their kids, and they're here for the first time, and they're trying to find this building over there, and he's going, oh, and he sees they're confused. Oh, yeah, you go over here and turn left and see that tall tower over there, you go behind that, and people just love this guy. He had a wonderful personality. It's such a tragedy he died in that motorcycle accident. But he was a great guy, and he wasn't born here. He came from out of state.
Yeah.
And so Taylor Green is another guy. They're still kind of mad at him for last year, but I'm telling you, if he does under the second year under Petrino what I think he's going to do, he could be one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and then everybody's going to love him. He's out of Texas by way of Boise State, but if he comes back here, stays 2 years, and turns this program around, people will love him. So the bottom line is, it's just like with Frank Broyles. A lot of people thought he was from Arkansas. Are you kidding me? He was from Georgia. And then he went to Texas and coached for a while, then went up to Missouri and came here. But once he got here, he just embraced the culture. Nolan's from El Paso.
Yeah.
Then he went to Texas, Western Junior College, then up to Tulsa. But when he got here, even though they fired him and he won a national championship and went to 3 Final Fours and won a national runner-up, and they fired him, he still lives about 8-10 miles up the road from here.
Because he loves Arkansas.
Because he loves it.
Yeah,
and people love him because this state adopts people really well.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they adopt. I got adopted.
Hey,
you got adopted.
Whoa. We're adopted.
We're both adopted.
I love this, and I think that's a great way to put it, Mike. And the other question is, Hog Redneck, let's go a little deeper. I challenge somebody to ask this question next week because it's a great topic for us to bring up on the show. I think we've talked about it before. How do we make Arkansas high school football better, right? How do you breed better talent here in the state of Arkansas, right? How do you get Arkansas on the level of the Texases and the Georgias and the Floridas? That's the bigger question, right? That's what I would like to know, because there is a talent discrepancy here versus other states. That's what I would like to know.
It's a
somebody
very
asked
complicated subject.
It is, and we don't have time to get into it because we've got way more questions. But hey, maybe somebody will ask that next week, and we can get into that. WV Hog Fan wants to know, did you ever get to enjoy a Jennings Osborne tailgate feast before a game in Little Rock?
You know, I never did. I remember guys talking about, we do this game day show, and we used to have more Little Rock games than we do now. But when you're doing the game day show, we always did it out on the golf course where everybody tailgates, and we'd have a thing set up there. We had a set out there, and we would do the game day show. It's an hour-long show with a lot of stuff that we have in it, profiling the game, a lot of features. Some of the guys, some of the people, girls and guys that worked with us, as soon as that was over, they went over. You can get food in the press box if you got a press pass. Yeah. But they were always telling me, this food is a lot better than what you're going to get in the press box. Me, I wanted to get to the press box, so I never did do that. But you looked him up.
Yeah.
And Jennings Osborne did a whole lot more than just do tailgates at War Memorial Stadium. he was into all kinds of stuff, Christmas shows and different
The
things.
Christmas lights. He's famous for the Christmas lights. And I hope this is, I assume this is the same Jennings Osborne.
Yes.
But when you asked me about him, I went, why do I know the name Osborne? Osborne. And I was like, I know the name Jennings Osborne, but I didn't know why I knew it until I looked him up. So I looked him up, and then I saw all the Christmas light stories and all of that. And I went, Mike, he's famous for donating Christmas lights to Walt Disney World in Florida, and I went to one of the Christmas light festival parade of lights that's supposedly named after him. So I thought that was so crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, that is a wild connection that I never thought I would have to a longtime Hog fan.
I just remember guys talking about his food and telling me how stupid I was for eating press box food when I could go over and eat his tailgate.
Listen, I did not know he had tailgates because I wasn't here during that time, but if they were any as good as his Christmas light shows, then they were fun and a place to be, right? So I love that. Razer Boo asks, now that the 2024-2025 season is over, what was your Razorback sports best surprise and greatest disappointment? And what is one hope for the 2025-2026 year?
Okay, this sounds strange, but again, the surprise was Omaha because I don't take Omaha for granted.
Okay.
There were all kinds. I kept thinking to myself, something's
That
going to
was
happen.
a surprise?
Yeah, I thought something would go wrong because things can go wrong. When you talk about, do you think Texas was surprised they didn't get to Omaha?
Oh, I very much so.
What about Vanderbilt?
Yes, very
There
much
were all
so.
kinds of teams that thought they were going to get to Tennessee. They thought they were going to get to Omaha, and they didn't. So I considered that a surprise, a nice surprise. They got back to Omaha.
Okay.
Okay, the disappointment, no question, the softball team not getting to Oklahoma City.
Absolutely.
And especially the way it happened, because they had their two best pitchers come down with food poisoning right at the time when they're playing the Super Regional, and there's no question to me that it affected them. So that was really, really bad luck. Now, the hope I have for next year is football.
I know. I knew you were going to say that.
I just think I like Sam Pittman. I think he's doing a better job than most fans think that he is. I'd love to see him not only prove them wrong, but to get the football program back on track, to do some things, to make some noise in the SEC. I'm not talking about winning it, but maybe you do more than just go to the Liberty Bowl or somewhere like that.
Please not the Liberty Bowl
Yeah,
again.
you go to a bigger bowl game, you play better competition. They've got an opportunity. They're going to play some really good teams. What if they upset Notre Dame here?
Ooh,
You
that'd
think
be
that wouldn't be
exciting.
big?
Yeah, no,
They
that'd
got
be
that
very
first
big.
ever game with Arkansas State. What happens if they lose that
Oh,
game?
don't talk about that. No,
Then
no,
things
no.
could go really bad. So you don't know, but that's my biggest hope is that they get football back on track.
Okay, I agree with that, and I agree with your biggest disappointment. I disagree with your biggest surprise because my biggest surprise was the basketball team. The way they started in SEC play, I would have bet money on it that they were not going to go to the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I would have bet money on it that even if they made the tournament, they were not getting out of the first round. They were a Sweet 16 team. So that, to me, shocked me.
Yeah, the turnaround,
I
the turnaround was a surprise, but overall, when I think about Cal, am I surprised that Cal took a team to the Sweet 16? No.
Well,
it was just the way it happened.
Okay, whoa. I never said I was surprised about Cal being the one to do that. Yeah. I was surprised how big of a turnaround it was. Yeah. That was truly an incredible turnaround. People don't talk about it enough. I have talked to so many people who cover college basketball all over the country, and they go, it was just not, it was talked about a lot, obviously, in the tournament, but how impressive that was
Thinking
truly.
back on it, I did sit right here and say they got no shot more than once.
Yeah. Now, did I think that the team, Arkansas baseball, would get to Omaha? I had hopes that they would get to Omaha, and I believed it was more possible than the Arkansas basketball team.
I never thought it was going to happen until it happened.
Okay.
I really thought they had really screwed Arkansas over with sending Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I just thought, whoa, wow, you can't beat a program like that in a series twice in 1 year. That was a big surprise that they not only did that, but they really handled Tennessee better than they did the first time they played.
Yeah. I mean, again, that was a surprise as well. But I think back to when I was looking at basketball season in the conference slate and going, oh, they're not making the tournament. And then all of a sudden they're doing this turnaround, and I'm going, they're going to make it. They're going to make it. Let alone make it. I also didn't think they would make it to the Sweet 16. So it was incredible. All right, we're going to take another short break. We have 2 final questions. and some fun ones. We got a basketball one and a golfing curse question.
What's that all about?
What's that all about? We're going to find out right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to another edition of Ask Mike. Courtney Mims alongside Mike Irwin here. Mike, I love this question from TL Slayton, who says, I don't remember other Arkansas basketball coaches reaching out to Nolan the way Cal has, not even Mike Anderson. Is there some reason why they are such good friends?
I give you credit for doing the research on this because I thought this was why, but when you go back and look at the research, what you find out is that John Calipari and Nolan Richardson coached against each other 4 times, right?
That's correct.
Okay, the first 2 times Cal was at UMass, and Arkansas was good back then, and Cal beat him twice.
Yeah, the first time was that Arkansas was ranked number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Cal has said the reason he remembers that so fondly is because he knew how good Arkansas was, and it was a heck of an accomplishment for him early in his coaching career. I also believe that in going up against Nolan and you study your opponent, I think he admired his coaching style, the way he coached his players. I think he liked the way Arkansas attacked on the court, but with defense, full court defense, putting pressure on. So I think that is where he really began to admire him as a coach. Now, the 2 times after he went to Memphis, Arkansas beat them both times. So those 2 guys are 2-2 against each other. It's a draw. And I think a draw allows you to become friends. Yeah. But beyond that, I think this, to me, the biggest surprise when Calipari came here, other than I didn't see that he would come here anyway. Remember when the rumors thought, I thought, oh,
maybe that was the biggest surprise. Can we put that in, rope that in?
Yeah. I mean, when that happened, I'm thinking, there's no way John Calipari is leaving Kentucky to come here. But when he did, then you're thinking, man, you know, what's he really like? And all of a sudden he gets here and I'm thinking, oh yeah, he might come in here and make a, you know, he's going to come in here and try to win, but he's not going to really embrace the culture. Here he's late in his career. Well, he'd stay here 2 or 3 years and do something. And then all of a sudden he's here and he's doing weird stuff like going all over the state and taking his players around and having his players do stuff with youth kids and doing stuff with them with football or basketballs and stuff. And then he does this thing with Nolan, and he's done it several times now, and he's brought Nolan into his locker room before big games.
Yeah, before they went to San Francisco, he brought him in.
And what he's basically discovered is, number one, when you show these guys who are mostly out-of-state guys, and it's been a while since Arkansas must have got the program back up, but it wasn't what it was under Nolan. So it's been a while. And what Calipari is showing these kids is this school has a history in basketball. They've won a national championship. They've been a national runner-up. They've been to, I think this school's been to 5, 6 Final Fours, all that. And so when Nolan comes in and talks to them, and then Nolan has always been able to relate to players, the players start going, oh man, I like this guy. Yeah. And Cal knows, this is the smart part, tie this guy to your own program because it will help you recruit. Absolutely. It will help win over current Arkansas fans to you because you've embraced the past. I think it's amazing.
And it's respect, right? And that's the big thing that Cal talks about is how much he respects Nolan Richardson.
And it isn't amazing that he said, because Musselman there was no issue there between Nolan and Musselman. He just didn't pay much attention to it.
Yeah, he just didn't,
And I don't think we thought a lot about it. But what about Mike Anderson? He coached under Nolan, and they weren't particularly close when Nolan was, when Mike Anderson was the coach here. I don't remember Nolan being around a lot.
Yeah. I don't remember it either, but you would know better than me on that one. But
so this is really impressive what Cal has done.
I think so as well, and people see it all over the place. It's not just Arkansas. Remember that people are seeing him pay homage and respect.
Probably makes Goodman mad, but
probably. But he's mad over Cal anyways. He's the obsessive girlfriend that's obsessed with the obsessive ex-girlfriend, right? Yep. He would criticize anything he did. It could be the nicest thing ever, and he'll just criticize it. All right, we end on a fun one, Mike. You ready for this? We've got like 5 minutes left, but Popular Porkster says, you said last week there was no curse on Arkansas athletics. Do you apply that to yourself? Why don't you own up to your own curse on the golf course?
Okay, so
What is this question, Mike?
this guy was on I think might have been Facebook. He was talking about playing golf, and it started to rain on him or something, and so I just popped in and told him this story about something that happened to me. And I guess he decided that he'd watch this stuff about me saying there was no curse on Razorback Athletics. So let me explain what happened.
Okay.
So I'm playing golf, I think it was early last week, but I can't remember when. And I'm 2 over after 7, and my best ever technically was 3 over.
Yeah.
So all I have to do is par these last 2 holes, and I'll set a new record.
Nice.
No, my best was technically 4 over, but I claimed 3 over because one time I played a round and I had a mulligan, gave myself a mulligan, so you're really cheating. So it was really not 3 over. I told people it was 3 over, it was really 4 over.
Okay, 4 over. All right. So you're going to break it.
I got a chance to do this. So I hit a drive on 8, and it's the longest drive I ever hit on that hole. Then I hit a short iron shot up to the green. I got a 2-putt for a par. Putt up to about 1.5 feet. And that's not a tough putt from where that pin placement was. So I'm going to make a par there.
Okay.
And I start walking up to putt, and it starts raining on me.
Oh, no.
And I look around in the sky. All I see is blue sky, and I'm like, what is this? And I look straight up, and there's a dark cloud over me, and it's raining right down on top of the golf course.
Oh,
Nowhere else, just
Nope.
right there. Well, what is this? And it's kind of got in my head. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, am I going to putt in the rain? What am I going to do here? And I'm thinking about it and all that stuff, and it distracted me.
Yeah.
And I went up there and missed the putt.
Oh, no.
So I'm thinking, oh, no. But technically, if I make a putt on 9, I'm still 3 over is better than 4 over, which is the real record.
Okay.
So I hit a drive right down the middle between the 2 sand traps. Got a 7-iron up to the green, same thing. All I got to do is 2-putt, and I'm 3 over.
Okay.
So I get up there and I hit the putt, and this time it's about 1 foot, maybe less. I got this.
Yeah.
And I start walking up to this thing, and it starts raining a lot harder. I'm going, wait a minute. So my hands are all wet, and the grip is wet, and I'm thinking I ought to go back to the cart and wipe all this off just to make sure. But normally I wouldn't do that with a putt, but and I think I'm going to do that, but I look around, there's this guy standing in the middle of the fairway waiting to finish his round, and he's getting drenched too, and I'm thinking, oh man, he's out there, he's mad, he don't want me up here messing around, so I can make this putt. So I go up there and I do one really stupid thing, because I'm thinking about all this other stuff. I didn't look at the line on the putt, and it turns out, even though you can't see it real well, if you look at it, there's kind of a little hard left thing there. So I should have aimed above the hole, and I didn't. I put it straight at the hole, and it dove off left, and I'm like really, really mad. So was I cursed? No, I'm a dumbbell. I allowed the rain to mess me up. It wasn't the rain, it was me. It's not a curse, it was me.
Well, there you go. You have it here first. No curses. It's just sometimes you make mistakes.
I should have never allowed the rain to bother me.
All right. I like that. I like that message. No curses. Just sometimes bad things happen.
Yep.
But you just have to accept
them.
them.
You got to overcome those bad things.
Exactly. And I bet next time you go out there, I think you're going to do it.
You're going to do it. If it's a thing that putting in the rain is a problem, like what about the PGA guys? No. He's laughing at me. Guys putt in the rain all the time, because I'd never done that. I never remember putting in the rain.
Yeah. Well,
probably have, but just forgot about it.
Well, next time you'll go out there, I'm predicting beautiful skies for you, and I think you're gonna get your record.
Well, we'll see.
I think you're gonna do it. Positivity, right? The power of positivity, Mike. You got this. You got this. All right. We'll see you next week, and maybe Mike Irwin will update us on if he breaks his record or not. We'll see. We'll see you next Monday to answer more of your questions.